Kael and Lira lived a life painted in soft colors, right on the very fringe of Elowen. This place, Elowen, was not just land. It was alive with a magic that hummed in the air and sparkled in the dew. Their days were a gentle rhythm of creation, a partnership as seamless as the light they crafted. Together they made lanterns, not ordinary ones that merely held fire, but special lanterns. These were born from delicate spun glass that Kael shaped with careful hands, and vibrant living moss that Lira gathered from the whispering forest floor. Their small cottage often smelled of warm glass and damp earth, a comforting, familiar aroma. Their work was a quiet dance. Kael, with his steady gaze, would coax the molten glass into elegant shapes, sometimes like elongated teardrops, other times like round, joyful moons. Lira, her fingers nimble and knowing, would then weave the freshest green and silver mosses around the glass frames. She had a special touch, making the moss cling and thrive, giving each lantern a living heart. The people from the nearby hamlets, and sometimes even curious travelers, sought out their creations. They said Kael and Lira's lanterns held more than just light. They held a piece of Elowen's own gentle enchantment, a soft glow that kept shadows at bay and spirits calm. Their companionship was as vital as the air they breathed. Few words were needed between them as they worked side by side, from the first light of dawn until the crickets began their evening song. Kael would often glance at Lira, a small smile playing on his lips as he watched her select the perfect sprig of moss, her brow furrowed in concentration. Lira, in turn, would marvel at the way Kael could transform a shapeless blob of heated sand into something so fine and beautiful. Their lives were intertwined, simple yet deeply fulfilling, each day a testament to their shared craft and unspoken understanding. The magic of Elowen was a gentle neighbor, never intrusive, always benevolent. It was in the way the flowers in their small garden bloomed with unusual vibrancy, and how the stream nearby seemed to sing a clearer song. Their lanterns, imbued with this subtle magic, were more than just objects. They were small beacons of peace, reflecting the tranquil existence of their makers. Kael and Lira asked for little more than this: their work, their quiet home, and the comforting presence of each other, all under the watchful, magical gaze of Elowen. This peaceful routine was their world, a world they had built together, one glowing lantern at a time. One evening, as the sun bled orange and purple across the sky beyond Elowen's trees, their familiar routine took a most unexpected turn. Lira had been tending to a patch of unusual ivy she had found clinging to an ancient gnarled oak at the very edge of their property. Its leaves were a peculiar shade, almost too dark a green, with veins that seemed to shimmer faintly in the fading light. She decided on a whim to pluck a few tendrils, thinking their unique texture might add a new dimension to their latest lantern design. She carefully wove a strand around a newly cooled glass orb Kael had just finished. As the last ray of sunlight dipped below the horizon, and the first stars began to prick the darkening sky, something extraordinary happened. The ivy, where it touched the glass and moss, began to glow. It was not the warm, golden light their lanterns usually emitted. Instead, a cool, ethereal blue flame flickered to life, pulsating gently within the lantern's heart. Kael and Lira stared, their breath caught in their throats. This blue light was unlike anything they had ever seen, possessing a depth and intensity that seemed to draw in the surrounding shadows rather than push them away. It was beautiful, yet unsettling. Then came the whisper. It was not a sound that traveled through the air to their ears in the usual way. It was more like a feeling, a resonance that vibrated deep within their minds, a silent language. The blue light whispered, and its voice felt ancient, impossibly old, like the rustling of leaves from trees that had seen millennia pass. It spoke not of joy or sorrow, nor anger or peace, none of the emotions they knew. It was a communication that felt raw, elemental, and profoundly alien, yet strangely compelling. It hinted at secrets buried deep within the earth, and knowledge that predated even Elowen's magic. Kael reached out a tentative hand towards the pulsing blue light, then hesitated. Lira, equally mesmerized, leaned closer, her eyes wide. The lantern, now fully consumed by this azure luminescence, seemed to throb with a life of its own. The whispers grew a fraction more insistent, not demanding, but rather beckoning, like a distant call from an unknown shore. The usual comforting sounds of their cottage, the crackle of the hearth, the sigh of the wind outside, faded into insignificance, drowned out by this silent, powerful call. They knew, with a certainty that settled deep in their bones, that this was no ordinary magic. A silent understanding passed between Kael and Lira, as it so often did. There were no words of debate, no weighing of pros and cons. The blue lantern, with its ancient, emotionless whisper, was an invitation they both felt compelled to accept. The quiet peace of their lives suddenly felt too small, too contained, in the face of such a profound mystery. Kael carefully picked up the lantern, its blue glow casting strange dancing shadows on his face, making him look like a figure from an old tale. Lira secured the clasp on her cloak, her gaze fixed on the otherworldly light, her heart a mixture of trepidation and an undeniable, thrilling curiosity. Together they stepped out of their warm, familiar cottage and into the embrace of the night. The forest that bordered Elowen, usually a place of known paths and comforting rustles, seemed to transform under the influence of the blue lantern. The trees loomed taller, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching for the star-dusted sky. Shadows deepened, and the usual night sounds, the hoot of an owl, the scuttling of unseen creatures, seemed to hold their breath, as if in deference to the passage of the strange blue light. The lantern pulsed steadily, its whispers continuing to echo in their minds, guiding them forward. Their journey was marked by a profound quietness, not just in the forest around them, but between them as well. They moved as one, Kael taking the lead, his steps sure despite the uneven ground, Lira close behind, her hand often finding his for reassurance. The blue light was their only beacon in the oppressive darkness, painting the gnarled tree trunks and tangled undergrowth in unearthly hues. It did not illuminate much, just a small circle around them, making the surrounding forest seem even more immense and mysterious. Yet, they felt no urge to turn back, drawn onward by an unseen thread. The air grew cooler, and the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filled their nostrils, a smell far wilder than that of their own moss garden. The whispers from the lantern seemed to grow a little clearer, though still incomprehensible, as if they were drawing closer to the source of its ancient voice. Each step took them further from the familiar comforts of their life on Elowen's edge, and deeper into a realm of forgotten magic and untold secrets. Their teamwork, honed over years of shared creation, now guided them through the unknown, their trust in each other as steady as the strange blue flame they followed. After what felt like an age of walking, the trees began to thin, and the oppressive canopy gave way to a clearing, bathed in the soft, silvery light of the moon. In the center of this clearing stood a circle of ancient, weathered stones, taller than a man, their surfaces covered in moss and faint, eroded carvings. They looked like silent sentinels, guarding secrets too old for the world to remember. The blue lantern in Kael's hand pulsed erratically now, its whispers becoming a chorus of urgent, vibrating hums that resonated deep within their chests. This was clearly their destination, the place the lantern had been leading them to all along. As Kael and Lira stepped into the ring of stones, the ground beneath their feet felt different, charged with a strange energy. The air itself seemed to crackle. Suddenly, with a sharp, cracking sound like ice breaking, the glass of the lantern shattered. The blue flame, instead of extinguishing, flared up brilliantly for a moment, blindingly intense, before collapsing in on itself and vanishing. Darkness enveloped them, a profound, sudden blackness that was broken only by the faint moonlight filtering through the trees. For a heart-stopping moment, there was only silence, a heavy, expectant hush. Then, from the very spot where the lantern had fallen and broken, a new light began to coalesce. It was not blue this time, but a pearlescent, shimmering white. Slowly it took on a form, a vaguely humanoid shape, tall and ethereal, like a figure woven from moonlight and mist. It was a ghostly presence, ancient and powerful, its features indistinct yet undeniably there. Kael and Lira stood frozen, not in fear but in sheer awe and a touch of trepidation. The air grew cold, and the whispers they had heard before now seemed to emanate from this luminous being. The ghostly shape raised a translucent hand, and a voice, clearer now but still echoing with the weight of ages, spoke directly into their minds. Your bond, it resonated, the love and shared purpose that flows between you. It is a rare magic in itself. It has resonated with the old powers. You have awakened something that has slept for a very, very long time. The words were not a threat, nor a welcome, but a statement of profound consequence. Kael instinctively reached for Lira's hand, his fingers finding hers, their grip firm and reassuring. They looked at each other, then back at the spectral form, a new, unknown path unfolding before them in the heart of the ancient glade.